Welcome to the deep dive. And right away, you might notice today's session is going to feel a little different because this one is specially designed for you, the language learner.
Exactly. We are keeping the language accessible and the pace comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable is the key word here. Because our mission today is looking at a stack of notes on this concept called slow down to speed up. We're discovering how to learn English and honestly just process life in general by doing less.
Doing less and doing it slower.
Yeah.
Which is, not what we're usually taught.
Right, because usually I'm like, okay, I decided I was going to completely optimize my learning. I wanted to master English faster, read more books, be more productive. So I started speed running my life, listening to things on 1.5 speed, trying to cook dinner while simultaneously.
Oh, well, okay, let's take a breath right there.
Yeah. Whew. I mean, I literally just ran out of breath. But that's the point, right? That frantic machine gun pace, that's the problem.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I promise you, the listener, we are not going to talk like that today. This deep dive is a safe, relaxed space.
I appreciate that because, man, I had a real wake-up call recently. I had this massive bout of burnout.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, I was trying to do exactly what I just mumbled through. I was trying to speed run everything, watching shows, listening to music, everything on high speed. And the peak of this whole, productivity experiment, I tried to memorize 200 English vocabulary words in a single day.
Oh, wow. 200 in one day. That's a lot.
Yeah, just brute force it, right? Because we have this idea that if you just consume more, you'll get fluent faster. But by nighttime, my brain was completely blank.
I can imagine.
I felt this intense, vibrating anxiety in my chest. I was exhausted. And honestly, I couldn't remember a single one of those 200 words. I essentially broke my own brain by treating it like a machine.
What's fascinating here is that your experience perfectly illustrates our sources today. You weren't just having a bad study day. You were suffering from what psychologists call hurry sickness.
Hurry sickness. It sounds exactly like what I had.
Yeah, it's a very modern compulsion. It's this pervasive feeling that you are somehow always behind. You feel like you're constantly running out of time, so you squeeze your brain's processing speed to its absolute breaking point.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because on the surface, if we're being honest, moving faster feels kind of logical.
How so?
Well, we have so much to learn, right? Millions of English words, countless grammar rules, demanding jobs. If I don't speed up, I'm going to get left behind. Why shouldn't I try to go faster?
It's a fair question, but it fundamentally misunderstands how human cognition works. High speed does not equal high efficiency.
It doesn't.
No, not at all. We treat our brains like computer hard drives. We think, just drink more coffee and download those 200 words. But when you push a biological system beyond its limits, you don't get faster processing. You get a system crash.
System crash, yes. That is exactly what it felt like. Like opening 50 heavy apps on a laptop all at once. The screen freezes, the fan starts whirring super loud, and then boom, it shuts down.
Exactly. Biologically, being in a constant rush triggers your fight or flight response. Your body releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And here is the kicker. High cortisol actually blocks memory formation.
Wait, really? It blocks it?
Yes. It physically prevents your brain from absorbing new information. So by panicking and rushing, you are biologically stopping yourself from learning.
Wow. Okay, so before we move on, let's highlight some key vocabulary for you, the listener, from this first section, because these are great words to know.
Good idea.
First is the concept itself. Hurry sickness.
Hurry sickness, the constant feeling of needing to go faster.
Right. And when you have that, you are always in a rush.
In a rush, moving too quickly.
And the result of being in a rush is feeling overloaded or experiencing information overload.
Information overload, when there is simply too much data for your brain to handle.
Exactly. Like me with those 200 words, my mental hardware completely crashed.
Right.
So what's the alternative here? What is actually happening in our heads when we learn something properly?
Well, the sources give us a brilliant analogy. We need to stop comparing the brain to a computer and start comparing it to a stomach.
A stomach. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Right. The mind absorbing knowledge works on the exact same physiological principles as a stomach digesting food. Both have strict limits, and both need physical time to extract nutrients.
So if the brain is a stomach, my attempt to memorize 200 words in a day wasn't just a bad study plan. That would be like sitting down at a restaurant and trying to swallow an entire cow in one bite.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. You cannot swallow a cow.
Obviously not. My stomach would literally break.
Exactly. Even if you somehow managed to get all that food down quickly, your body wouldn't absorb any vitamins from it. It would just make you sick. To get nutritional value, you have to chew slowly.
Okay, so swallowing the cow is panic reading 200 words. But what does chewing slowly look like for learning? Reading 5 words and just staring at them.
Well, the science calls this mental digestion consolidation.
Consolidation?
Yes. When you first hear a new English word, it goes into your short-term memory. But it's very fragile there. It's just a temporary waiting room. For you to actually remember that word next week, your brain has to physically build new neural pathways.
To move it to long-term memory. Yeah.
Exactly. And that transfer process, that's consolidation.
And I'm guessing that process isn't instant.
It is the opposite of instant. When you intentionally slow down, like leaving blank spaces between study sessions, you're giving your brain the physical time it needs to do its job.
Wow. So I'm not being lazy when I slow down. I'm actually just letting my brain work.
Precisely. Slowing down isn't stepping backward. It's a biological requirement for mastery.
That really brings up that classic English phrase, quality over quantity. Having 5 deep, slow conversations in English is way better than 50 rushed ones.
It really is. It validates that famous idiom, slow and steady wins the race.
Right. The tortoise and the hare totally had hurry sickness, sprinted, spiked his cortisol, and crashed. The tortoise just took manageable steps.
Exactly. Let's do another quick vocabulary review for our listeners.
Awesome. So the first words are about the stomach analogy, digest and absorb.
Digest and absorb, taking things in slowly to get the value out of them.
Then we have the scientific term, consolidation.
Consolidation, building those permanent neural pathways.
And finally, those great idioms, quality over quantity, and slow and steady wins the race.
Perfect. So we understand the biology now. We know why we shouldn't swallow the cow.
Yeah, but how do we actually do this? In real life, the whole world is constantly telling us to hurry up. How do we slow down our language learning practically?
The sources outline 2 highly practical deceleration exercises. The first one is called mindful reading.
Mindful reading, how does that work?
It's simple, but really challenging if you're used to rushing. You take a simple English text, maybe just one paragraph, and instead of trying to finish the page, you read it out loud at exactly half your normal speaking speed.
How speed?
Yes. You deliberately slow down your eyes and your mouth. You feel every single syllable. You notice the shape of your lips, the rhythm of the words.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit. If I read at half speed, it takes twice as long. Isn't the whole point of reading to, get the information? I feel like I'd lose the plot of the story if I'm just sounding out syllables.
See, that reaction right there,
Yeah.
that is hurry sickness talking.
Oh, is it?
It is. You're prioritizing extracting data over actual comprehension. The goal of mindful reading isn't to find out how the story ends. The goal is to train your brain to exist in the current sentence.
So stopping that anticipation of what's next.
Exactly. When you slow down, you start noticing subtle grammar structures and vocabulary nuances that you normally just skim right past. You stop deflecting the language and start truly absorbing it.
Okay, I get it. It's like instead of chugging a glass of wine just to get it down, you're actually tasting the flavor notes. It's a deliberate shift.
Exactly. Which brings us to the second practical exercise, which is for spoken conversation. It's called embracing the pause.
Embracing the pause. So literally just stopping.
Yes. When you're speaking English, practice pausing for 2 full seconds after every period. When the sentence ends, stop. 1, 2. Then start the next sentence.
Okay, I gotta be honest, that sounds socially terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah, think about a normal conversation. If I just stop talking for 2 whole seconds, it's gonna feel so awkward. The other person's gonna think I forgot my vocabulary or I'm confused.
That's a very common fear.
Right. That's exactly why we use filler words. When I'm thinking of an English word, I say or ah, or just to signal, hey, don't interrupt, I'm still here. My brain is just buffering.
Yes, but that is a defensive reflex. It's born out of panic. We're terrified of silence because we think silence equals failure. But I strongly advise our listeners to drop the filler words. Use intentional silence instead.
But why? I mean, filler words feel natural. Why get rid of them?
Because they just add static to the broadcast. The blank space of a deliberate pause is incredibly powerful. First, it gives your own brain cognitive relief. It's the time you need to retrieve the right vocabulary without panicking.
So letting the wet concrete dry before taking the next step?
Precisely. But more importantly, it's a gift to your listener.
A gift.
Yes, listening to a new language requires consolidation too. When you pause, you give the listener's brain time to digest what you just said. If you rush or fill the gap with, you're force-feeding them.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. A pause is a gift to the listener. I always thought pausing meant I wasn't fluent enough.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Rushing is a sign of anxiety. Pausing shows confidence. It says, I control the pace of this interaction.
I control the pace. I love that. I really want our listeners to feel equipped to take that control back. So let's share some actionable English phrases from the sources that they can use to decelerate.
Excellent. The first phrase is a fantastic tool. Let's take a deep breath.
Let's take a deep breath. It sounds simple, but saying that in a stressful situation totally breaks the hurry sickness cycle, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a physical pattern interrupt.
Yeah, giving everyone permission to relax. Another great one is one thing at a time.
Yes, that one directly fights the feeling of being overloaded.
Exactly. When you have 10 grammar rules swimming in your head, saying one thing at a time focuses your brain on a single step. It's the verbal equivalent of chewing your food.
And our final phrase is, there is no need to rush.
There's no need to rush. I love that you can use this with a friend who's speaking too fast. Just smile and say, there's no need to rush, or use it as an internal mantra.
It's incredibly freeing.
Let's quickly review those final keywords for you. We have pause,
Pause. Deliberately stopping to create space.
one thing at a time,
Focusing on a single step to avoid overload.
and pace and permission.
Pace is your speed, and permission is allowing yourself to control that speed.
I feel like my own heart rate has physically slowed down during this chat. We really don't have to operate at 1.5 speed all the time.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, true learning isn't about becoming a more efficient machine. You are a human being. You require time to digest, to consolidate, and to grow.
That's beautiful. So as we wrap up today, I want to set a really specific mood for you, the listener. Just imagine you're sitting in a comfortable chair. Maybe you've got a warm cup of tea, and there's this soft, steady lo-fi music playing in the background, a gentle, unhurried beat.
That sounds lovely.
Right. Our sources gave us this beautiful healing affirmation, and I want to invite you to take a deep breath and internalize this. I give myself permission to slow down. My pace is perfect.
I give myself permission to slow down. My pace is perfect.
I am literally writing that down and putting it on my monitor. It just changes everything. We started this deep dive talking about the trap of speedrunning life, swallowing the cow of vocabulary, and treating our brains like hard drives.
Which we now know just leads to a crash.
Yeah. Exactly. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final, slightly different thought to ponder on your own. We talked a lot about how slowing down helps our brains process language and facts.
Right.
But consider this. How might intentionally pausing change the way we experience a simple daily conversation with a loved one?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, if true cognitive learning requires us to abandon the rush, does true emotional connection require the exact same thing? What would happen if we gave our relationships the same 2-second pause we're giving our vocabulary?
That is definitely something to think about.
Take your time with that one. There is no need to rush the answer. We will see you next time on The Deep Dive.